Imagine knowing you're about to die, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. No backup plan, no last-second miracle, just the slow realization that this moment is the end. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has shown a lot of deaths, heroes, villains, entire armies turning to dust in seconds. But some deaths hit differently. Some are brutal, some are tragic, and some hurt because the person dying already knows exactly what it will cost them. Today we're looking at the most painful deaths in the MCU, and the final one didn't just kill a hero, it saved the entire universe. Pain in the MCU doesn't always come from violence. Sometimes it comes from helplessness. Sometimes from sacrifice, and sometimes from watching someone you love die right in front of you. Let's start with one of the most shocking deaths Marvel has ever shown. Black Bolt is one of the most dangerous beings in the Marvel Universe. His voice alone is a weapon. Even a whisper can destroy buildings. A scream could level entire cities, which is why he almost never speaks. As the king of the Inhumans, Black Bolt carries a power so destructive that a single mistake could wipe out entire armies. But in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that power became his downfall. When the Illuminati confronted Wanda Maximoff, they believed they had the advantage. After all, they had Black Bolt.
Black Bolt could destroy you with one whisper from his mouth.
The one man capable of ending the fight instantly. But Wanda didn't attack him. She rewrote reality. With a single thought, she erased his mouth.
What mouth?
For a brief moment, Black Bolt didn't understand what had happened. Then, instinct took over. He tried to speak. The destructive energy of his own voice detonated inside his skull. In a fraction of a second, the most dangerous voice in the universe became the cause of his own death. No fight, no defense, just the horrifying realization that his greatest weapon had turned against him. But Black Bolt's death ended quickly. The next one was slower and far more personal.
If you're going to Earth, you might want a guide.
For years, Loki was the villain, the manipulator, the trickster who betrayed everyone around him. But by the time Infinity War begins, Loki had changed. He fought beside Thor. He helped save Asgard. For the first time in his life, Loki was trying to become something better. And then Thanos arrived. Standing on the destroyed Asgardian ship, Loki knew he couldn't defeat the Titan, but he tried anyway. First with deception. He pretended to serve Thanos, pretended to betray Thor, waiting for the perfect moment. Then he struck a hidden dagger, a desperate attack meant to save his brother, but Thanos saw through it instantly. The Titan caught Loki effortlessly, his hand wrapped around Loki's throat. Thor watched helplessly as his brother struggled to breathe. For the first time in his life, Loki had no trick left, no illusion, no escape, just Thanos tightening his grip. And in one brutal motion, the Titan snapped his neck. The god of mischief died trying to protect the only family he had left.
No resurrections this time.
But even that tragedy wasn't the most personal loss in the MCU. For that, we have to talk about Peter Parker. Peter Parker had already lost a lot. His parents, Tony Stark, his normal life, but in Spider-Man No Way Home, Peter lost the one person who always believed in him, Aunt May. After Peter tried to help the villains from other universes, the Green Goblin made sure he paid for it.
It's choking you. Can't you feel it?
The fight destroyed the apartment, and during the chaos, Goblin struck May with his glider. At first, she seemed fine.
Peter. No good deed goes unpunished.
She stood up, told Peter everything would be okay.
We're okay, right?
Yeah, knocked on my head.
But the damage was already done. Peter slowly realized something was wrong. May was dying, and instead of blaming him, instead of being afraid, she gave him the words that define Spider-Man forever. With great power comes great responsibility. Moments later, May collapsed, and the teenager who tried to save everyone realized the true cost of being a hero.
What are you doing, May? Please, will you just wake up and talk to me, please?
But the next death on this list wasn't caused by an enemy. It was a sacrifice someone chose.
Who are you?
Consider me a guide.
Natasha Romanoff spent most of her life trying to erase who she used to be. An assassin, a weapon trained in the Red Room, someone who spent years doing terrible things for people she didn't even believe in. Joining the Avengers was supposed to change that. For the first time in her life, Natasha had something she never had before, a family. But on the planet Vormir, she and Clint Barton discovered the terrible truth about the Soul Stone. To obtain it, someone had to die. A soul for a soul.
A soul for a soul.
And suddenly the mission stopped being about saving the universe. It became a choice between two people who loved each other like family. Clint insisted it had to be him. After everything he had done as Ronin, he believed he deserved to die. But Natasha refused, because Clint still had something she never had. A family waiting for him, a wife, children. Standing on the edge of that cliff, the two of them began arguing, then shouting, then fighting. Not because they hated each other, but because each of them was trying to save the other. Natasha ran for the edge. Clint fired a grappling arrow and pulled her back. Two best friends desperately trying to sacrifice themselves before the other could stop it, until finally Natasha made her move. For a moment, she dangled above the endless abyss. Clint desperately tried to pull her back up, begging her to hold on, but Natasha knew something Clint didn't want to accept. This was the only way. She looked up at him one last time, calm, certain, and she simply said, "It's okay." Then she let go. Natasha Romanoff fell into the darkness below, and in that moment, Clint realized the terrible truth. The friend who spent her entire life trying to make up for her past had just given everything to save the future. Peter Quill spent most of his life believing Yondu ruined his childhood, the Ravager who kidnapped him, the criminal who raised him among thieves. But when Ego tried to destroy Peter, the truth finally came out.
Hey there, jackass!
Yondu didn't take Peter for selfish reasons. He saved him because Yondu knew Ego planned to kill his own son. When Ego's planet began collapsing, there was only one functioning spacesuit left, enough oxygen for one person. Peter tried to give it to Yondu, but Yondu refused. Instead, he placed the suit on Peter and pushed him toward safety. As they drifted into space, Yondu's body slowly froze. His breathing slowed, and for the first time, Yondu admitted the truth. Ego might have been Peter's father, but he wasn't his daddy.
He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
Moments later, Yondu died in the vacuum of space. But the final death on this list didn't just break hearts, it changed the fate of the entire universe. Tony Stark started as a genius billionaire who cared about nothing but himself, weapons, money, fame. But over the years, Tony changed. He became a protector, a mentor, a hero. During the final battle in Avengers Endgame, Thanos believed he had already won. But Tony saw something no one else noticed, an opportunity. Using his nanotech armor, Tony stole the Infinity Stones directly from Thanos. And in that moment, Tony understood the cost. No human body could survive using the stones. But Tony Stark had spent his entire life trying to protect the world. Now, he could finally finish the job. Thanos said he was inevitable. Tony looked at him and said 4 words.
Iron Man.
The energy of the stone surged through his body, the most powerful force in the universe tearing through a human being. Thanos' army turned to dust. The battle ended. The universe was saved. But Tony didn't die in the explosion. He died in the quiet moment after. When the noise stopped, Peter Parker knelt beside him. Rhodey stood silently. Pepper held his hand. Tony looked at her one last time, and Pepper told him the words he had needed to hear for years. "We're going to be okay. You can rest now."
We're gonna be okay.
And for the first time since he built that first suit in a cave, Tony Stark finally did.